In watching the business imperative or the business case for flexibility over the last few decades, can you talk to us a little bit about what is the business imperative? Why is flexibility so important as it relates to unlocking experiences of engagement, empowerment, productivity, innovation, belonging, and more?
You
And
talked
feel free to sprinkle in some data too, because a
Yeah,
lot of the
no.
people joining us today love data.
Well, I think, and that's laid out in the book, like really around the business case. But I think what you were talking about in the beginning, which is to say, oh, well, the book talks about engagement, the book talks about burnout, all of those things is because flexibility can be a driver to all of those things. And so the reason I sort of love flexibility is because when it's working well, we know that it will be a driver of diversity. If you look at who wants flexibility in the workplace, I say you have to degender, deparent, and destigmatize it in order to make it work. But we know the impact it has on women. We know the impact. Deloitte did a study that said 67% of caregivers would consider leaving their job if flexibility stopped. If you look at generational data, right? Like what are the people at younger generations, at all generations want it for different reasons. If you look at the more younger generations, right, they demand workplace flexibility. They put it in their top three of the things that they're looking for in an organization. So when we think about, if you say by 2030, the majority of the workplace is going to be we'll see Gen Z and millennials, and as part of that, making up the majority of that, well, they want workplace
Yeah.
flexibility. So it impacts in your ability to recruit when you look at that data. Um, when you look at burnout is at an all-time high. One of the things that we talk about what can organizations do related to burnout, if you look at Christina Masloch's research around offering people some sort of level of control, right? So flexibility ties into that as you look at that. And then there have been studies around profitability, looking at, if you think about, if you increase engagement and showing that flexibility is a driver of engagement. There was a study that was done by McKinsey looking over a 3-year period of any company, any public company that it gave employees a choice around where to work, outperformed revenue growth by about 16% over the course of 3 years. So like there are all of this data that we can point to, and the book goes more into it. And the data is ever changing. I think the one thing that we have to look at is there's constantly new data coming out. Part of the thing I wanted to do in the book was to help organizations build their own business case. Like, go into your own data, think about what your people want, think about the impact it has on your people within the organization. You can think about your recruitment, you can think about your ability to retain, all of those things. Who are you trying to build a workplace for? And that will point to you to say, there's a real business imperative here around the ways in which organizations need flexibility in order to thrive.